Let me ask you something today. And I want you to really think about this before you answer. What are your top 3 priorities right now? Professionally, take a second. Think about it. Okay, now, when did you last spend a meaningful block of focused time on each of those 3 things? If you're hesitating, if you're thinking, well, it's complicated, then this episode is exactly for you. Because here's the uncomfortable truth I've seen many times and again with the leaders and executive I coach. Most people can tell me their priorities in 30 seconds, but when we look at their calendar together, those priorities are almost nowhere to be found. And that gap between what you say matters and how you actually spend your days, that's not a time management problem. That's a clarity and courage problem. And today I'm going to give you the exact tool I use with my clients to close that gap. Welcome to Question Coach Today, the podcast where I ask powerful questions which drive real leadership growth. I am Audrey Genron, founder of Be Best Coaching, and I host this show. Every episode, I give you one big question, the kind I asked my client in coaching sessions, and I build a whole framework around it so you can walk away with something concrete to implement this week. So, all right, let's go. What your calendar is really telling you. That's the first part for today. A few years ago, when I was still working in consulting, it was a Big Four environment, fast-paced, high stakes. I had a senior manager on the project. Brilliant woman, incredibly driven, fantastic reputation. And every time I'd catch up with her, she'd tell me the same thing. Her priority was growing her team, developing people, building a learning and feedback culture within her department. And every time we looked at her calendar and we looked at it together in one of our informal coaching conversations, it was wall-to-wall client deliverable, internal escalations, and firefighting. A single hour blocked for team development in 3 weeks or 1 month. Not one. Was she lying to me? Absolutely not. She genuinely believed a priority was her team, but her calendar and the way she was spending her time was telling a completely different story. And the moment she saw it, she really saw it, everything shifted. This is so common. It has a name in organizational psychology, the say-do gap, the space between what we claim to value and what our behavior actually reflects. And it doesn't just affect individuals, entire organizations suffer from it. Leadership teams that say innovation is a priority but never free up a single hour for creative exploration. Managers who swear they put their people first but haven't had a real development conversation in months. Sounds familiar, isn't it? So in 2018, Michael Porter and Nitin Noya published a landmark study in the Harvard Business Review. They tracked 27 CEOs over 3 months, logging every single hour of their time. What they found was sobering. CEOs said strategy was their number one job, but they were spending barely 21% of their time on strategy-related activities. The rest, reactive meetings, operational issues, obligations they could have delegated. And these are CEOs, people who, by definition, have the most power over what they do and how they spend their time. So now imagine what number looks like for 2 or 3 levels down the hierarchy, and that's most of us. Here's what I want you to really sit with. Your calendar is the most honest document you will ever look at. It doesn't soften the truth. It doesn't tell you what you'd like to hear. It simply reflects in cold, hard data where your energy and attention actually went. And I think we resist looking at it honestly because we're a little bit afraid of what we'll find. We're afraid of having to admit that we've been hiding in the operational, in the urgent, in the reactive, instead of doing the strategic, high leverage work that actually moves the needle. So today I want to give you a very simple 3-step method I call the Calendar Audit. It takes about 45 minutes the first time, And it is genuinely one of the most transformational exercises I do with my clients. So there it is, the 3-step calendar audit. All right, let's get into it. You have the 3 steps. Step 1. Capture. Look back at your last 2 weeks. Open your calendar right now, or do this tonight or tomorrow morning first thing. Go back exactly 2 weeks. I want you to look at everything, every meeting, every blocked slot, every recurring item. Here's the critical part, not what you plan to do, what you actually did. This matters because a lot of us plan our week beautifully. Sunday evening, clear intention, a gorgeous agenda, and then Monday hits a crisis, an unexpected request, a 3-hour meeting that was supposed to be 30 minutes. So look at reality, not intention. If you have timesheets and you fill your timesheets really well, so that's even better. Otherwise, take a blank piece of paper. Yes, I know, a little bit old school, but there is something powerful about doing this by hand. So take a blank sheet of paper and list the recurring blocks and main time slots. Try to estimate rough percentages of your working week. Where did your hours actually go? That's the first step. Step 2, categorize. Sort everything out in 4 buckets. Here are the 4 buckets I use with every client. Bucket number 1, strategic work. Work that builds the future, developing a new offer, a new product, leading a transformation, mentoring key people, thinking about market positioning, deep work that only you can do. Operational. That's bucket number 2, necessary recurring work that keeps the machine running. Team stands up, client management, reporting, process work. Necessary, but not really transformational. Bucket number 3, reactive. Unplanned work that hijacked your time, urgent request, email avalanche, crisis management, last minute asks, things you didn't choose, they kind of choose you. And bucket number 4, the waste. Let's be honest here, we all have it. Meeting that's where you added 0 value. You should have sent a 2-line email, maybe tasks you should have delegated 3 months ago. The rabbit holes that felt productive but really weren't. So you categorize every block from your 2-week look back. Be honest, this is private. No one is judging you, so something will feel important in the moment, but objectively, after 2 weeks, it will belong in the reactive of the waste bucket. Here's a benchmark to put your numbers against. Research from McKinsey and Company shows that the average knowledge worker spends only 9% of their time on high-value strategic work, while nearly 60% of their time goes to operational and reactive activities. 9%. That's less than 1 full working day a week. Things that truly move your agenda forward. Think about it. Step 3, compare. Stack it against your stated priorities. Now write down your top 3 priorities for this quarter. Not your company's priorities, your priorities. The things that if you made a real progress on them in the next 60 to 90 days, you would feel genuinely proud. The things you keep meaning to get to. So then ask yourself this one question. Does each of these priorities have at least 2 to 3 hours of protected focus time per week? Not, I'll squeeze it between meetings. No, real blocked, non-negotiable time. If your answer to this question is no, congratulations, you just found your insight. The calendar audit isn't about making you feel guilty. I want you to be clear about that. It's about giving you data, and data drives better decision than guilt ever will. So now that you've done that, now rebuild your calendar with intention. So you've done the audit, you've seen the gaps, maybe you've had that slightly uncomfortable moment of truth. So now what? This is the part most productivity content skips. They say block time for your priorities and good luck with that. But it's not that simple, is it? Especially when you are in the leadership role where your calendar is partly owned also by other people or by your organization or by your clients. This is not so easy. So let me give you 3 principles for rebuilding your calendar intentionally. First principle, big rocks first. If you read Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you know the big rocks metaphor. If you try to fill a jar by putting in sand first, you will never fit the big rocks. But put the big rocks first and then the sand around them. Your strategic priorities are your big rocks. They go in your calendar first, before the meetings, before the request, before everything else, not at the end of the week when you have spare time. There is no spare time. There will never be spare time. In practice, at the start of each week, I recommend Sunday evening or Monday morning. You block your strategic time before your calendar will fill up. You treat it like an external client meeting. You wouldn't cancel on a client. Don't cancel on your strategy either. That's the first principle. Second principle, protect your cognitive peak. The neuroscience is very clear on this. We all have a cognitive peak, a window of 2 to 4 hours per day where our concentration, our creative thinking, and our decision-making quality are at their best, their highest. For most people, that window is in the morning, typically between 8 a.m. and noon, though it varies. Research published in Chronobiology shows that the morning cognitive peaks are consistently linked to higher quality output in complex, high-stakes thinking tasks. So here is my question. What are you doing during your cognitive peak right now? If you're honest, are you doing deep strategic work or are you cleaning your inbox and sitting in status update meetings? If this is the latter, that's your first quick win. Protect those hours. Move the low value stuff of your cognitive valleys, early afternoon, end of the day. Save your best brain for your most important work. Principle number 3. Build a weekly planning ritual. This is probably the single most impactful habit I recommend to leaders. It takes 20 to 30 minutes once a week, and it completely transforms your relationship with your time. Here is how it works. I'm sure I have your attention now. Reread or read again your top 3 quarterly priorities. 60 seconds. Just reconnect to what really matters. Then ask yourself, what is the one thing, if I accomplish it this week, that would make the biggest difference towards each priority? Block time for those 3 things in your calendar before you look at anything else, before requests, before emails or inbox. Do a 5 minutes review of the previous week. What worked? What derailed you? What will you carry forward? What will you let go? I first encountered a version of this ritual in Greg McKeown's Essentialism, a book I deeply, deeply recommend if you haven't read it. And it's backed by solid research, the International Coaching Federation, and multiple independent studies in goal psychology that combining specific goal setting with regular structured review will increase the goal achievement up to 42%. 42% compared to simply holding goals in mind. Writing it, reviewing it, acting on it, those 3 things together are what actually move the needle. The problem is that external demands will try to take over. Now, I know that some of you are thinking, okay, now, Audrey, this all sounds great in theory, but I don't control my calendar. My boss feels it, my client feels it, my team needs me, I'm in back-to-back meeting from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and I barely have time to eat lunch or whatever it is that you do in the pause. I hear you. I've been in that place. And yes, the higher you go, the more people want a piece of your time. That pressure is real. Paul Graham is an entrepreneur and an essayist, and he wrote a brilliant piece called Maker's Schedule, Manager's Schedule. His argument is as follows. The manager lives in 1-hour blocks, easily moved around, and easily rescheduled. But the makers, the doers, anyone doing deep creative or deep strategic work. These people need long, uninterrupted stretches. And the brutal reality is that most organizations forced everyone into the manager's schedule, even when the work calls for something completely different. So if your calendar feels completely out of your control, here's where I want you to start. One non-negotiable block. Just one. 90 minutes once a week. A recurring slot, same time every week, that you protect fiercely. No meeting, no interruption. Deep, focused, strategic work. If anyone asks, you're in a client meeting, you are actually your own client. Cole Newport from Georgetown University, author of a book called Deep Work, makes a compelling case backed by cognitive research that one focused session of deep work per week can generate more meaningful output than 10 hours of fragmented reactive work. One session. Start there, build from there. And when you get pushback, when someone tries to book over your prospective slot, that becomes a leadership conversation. You say, I have a standing commitment in that slot. Can we find another time? Clearly, kindly, firmly, because your priorities deserve a seat at the table in your own calendar. All right, so let's land this episode. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. First, your calendar is your most honest document. It doesn't soften the truth. It will show you in data where your energy and your attention and your time actually go. Look at it without guilt, just with curiosity. 2, do the calendar audit. Look back 2 weeks. Categorize everything into strategic, operational, reactive, or waste. Then compare it to your stated top 3 priorities. Do this exercise before the end of the week. Now, do it 3 to remember. Rebuild your calendar with intention. Put the big works first. Protect your cognitive peak hours for your highest leverage work. And build a weekly planning ritual. 20 minutes once a week that will transform your months and your quarter. If your calendar feels out of control, start with one block. That's the last thing I want you to remember. 90 minutes once a week, non-negotiable. That is your strategic muscle. Grow it from there. And here's the thing I leave you with. Your calendar is actually a leadership statement. Every single week, it broadcasts what you actually value, not what you say you value. Make sure it's broadcasting the right message. I really hope this episode gave you something concrete to work with this week. And I mean that. I want you to actually open your calendar after this episode ends. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not next week. So right now or tonight, do step 1 of the calendar audit. Look back at the last 2 weeks. Just look. The clarity that one simple exercise gives you is already incredibly powerful. If you already work with a coach, bring this audit to your next session with your coach. It makes for an incredibly rich coaching conversation. And if you're thinking about coaching, maybe for yourself or maybe for someone in your team, the calendar audit is one of the first exercises we do together at Be Best Coaching, because what you see there tells us everything we need to know about where to start. Next week, I will start a new coaching with a new executive team. And this is the first exercise that actually we are doing together, the calendar audit. If you want to explore working with us, head over to our website, bebestcoaching.com. We work with leaders, we work with executives and entrepreneurs who are ready to build the best version of their professional life individually and in teams. I love to connect. So if this episode was useful to you, please subscribe. Am I saying this sentence now? Yes, please subscribe and comment. Share it with a colleague who needs to have a look at their calendar. And if you have 2 minutes, leave a review, comment. It genuinely helps this show reach more leaders who need this kind of conversation. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Audrey Genron, and I will see you in the next episode of Question Coach. Take care of yourself and take care of your calendar. Bye bye, everyone.